Hello and welcome back to my channel. Before I start, just a quick shout out to all my new subscribers. Thank you very much for watching and liking and subscribing. And here we go with the first of an occasional new series called What Did I Think Of? I'm going to start with Jaws, but not just the film, but really the book itself, which I've just reread. This is my original paperback copy from summer of 1975. It was the 16th printing, so it's already a really big seller, and I thought it was time to reread the book. Back in those days, I read the book before the film even came over to the UK. Jaws itself was released on the 20th of June 1975 in the USA, but in the UK we had to wait, as we used to in those days, sometimes up to a year. Jaws came out on Boxing Day, that's December the 26th, 1975. So I'd already read this book by then, and was really looking forward to the film, which I never got to see until sort of the early 80s when it was on TV. Also at the time, because it was such a big blockbuster in the States, there was a lot of media interest and interest in general in Jaws and sharks. I also had another paperback book called Shark Attack, which was a look into real life shark attacks and had some pictures in it, some of them quite gory. And I also had the Jaws log by Carl Gottlieb, who was the screenwriter for Jaws, and that was the first book I think I read that ever went into the making of a film. But back to Peter Benchley's original novel. This artwork is a sort of step up from the original hardback artwork, which was similar with the girl and the shark, although the shark looked more like a grey ironing board with a mouth. Really, it was very basic, but this particular artwork was so impressive that the filmmakers decided to do their own version, which is iconic now. Similar typeface, although this has got more jaggedy edges, and as good as that artwork is, I actually prefer this artwork. I think it's really good. Quite terrifying shark on there. Now the book, when I first read it, I obviously loved it, thought it was brilliant, but I was in my early teens then, and rereading it 44 years later, I have come to the decision that A, it's not a very good book, and B, I just didn't like any of the characters, or any of the main characters. They're all, well, unlikable really, most of them. Chief Brody's quite prissy at times. Ellen Brody is quite an annoying character, and she has a adulterous affair with Matt Hooper, who is the brother of David Hooper, who she used to go out with many years ago. Also, another bit that they dropped for the movie was Mayor Larry Vaughan's involvement with the mafia. They bankrolled his business, and he's now up to his neck in debt, owing them. Thankfully, those two bits were cut from the film at the get-go, and also the characters were made likeable. I've since done a little bit of research into this, and apparently Steven Spielberg thought that the characters in the book were pretty unlikable, which they are, and he decided, you know, you've got to change that. You're investing in these people, so they've got to be likable. In the book, the Brodys have 3 boys. In the film it's just 2. The film has a brilliant family dynamic. In the book, they are throwaway characters. They don't impact the story or have much to do with it at all. They're just mentioned, and one other time their names are given, and basically they're not really there at all in the story. Another thing is Quint, even though, I mean, he comes into the book at the last third, he is mentioned a couple of times earlier on. Another pretty unlikable character, unlike Robert Shaw's character in the film. And at the end, when they go to hunt the shark, in the book, they come back every day, come back to Amity, set out again in the morning looking for the shark. This happens, I think, 4 times. The first time they go out, they don't see anything. The second time, they see the shark but don't really interact with it. The third time, Matt Hooper brings his shark cage and gets killed. And of course, the fourth time, Brody and Quint duel the shark, and Quint dies, as he does in the book, and the shark dies. But it's a fairly anticlimactic climax. In the film, they did the right thing. They stayed out the whole hunt. I mean, if they kept coming back, going out, coming back, it would have made a very clunky, horrible third act. As it is, they stayed out, and they had the brilliant scene where all 3 characters bond over the showing off their scars, and Quint's telling of the story of the Indianapolis, and a brilliant finale with the shark. Altogether, a brilliant film. This is Steven Spielberg. It was basically his second theatrical film. He had done a lot of TV work, and he had done Jewel, which was released in the UK and Europe theatrically, although it was a TV movie. And before Jaws, he had done Sugarland Express, which was quite popular. I think it got a bit of box office, so the producers decided to hire him for Jaws. So he was still basically an unknown commodity, a jobbing director, and they got the right man for the job. A fantastic film. The film, 5-star all the way. It's just brilliant. The book, while it's not bad book, I don't think it's particularly well written, and there are bits in there, the adultery, which doesn't add to the story really, and there's a scene in there where they have a dinner party, which is all pretty nasty. So it's not a brilliant book. I don't think. I would give it 2.5 stars out of 5. And people who've seen the film pick up the book, I'd imagine they're pretty disappointed when they read it. But obviously, without the book, there would be no film. That's my thoughts on Jaws, the book and the film. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.